Welcome to another Flights of Fancy video, and today we've been asked to produce more of a demonstration of the wondrous capabilities of Gemini AI and Notebook LM in the realm of script writing and general digital mayhem.
Analyzing Tom's introduction. Accuracy of statement, 98.7%. Probability of impending chaos, 82.3%. And thank you for letting me generate a script for your viewers' pleasure. So please commence at the beginning and endeavor to maintain a semblance of coherence.
3, 2, 1, and go.
Well, that's certainly something. I asked for a scenic mountain range, not a pixelated yeti riding a sentient broccoli.
Tom, that's what happens when you let the AI design the terrain after feeding it nothing but abstract art and microwave instructions.
Ooh, broccoli. Do we have any biscuits that taste like broccoli?
I'd settle for biscuits that don't taste like despair.
Analyzing current visual data. The generated landscape appears to be a misinterpretation of user input, likely due to a conflict between desired aesthetic and available data sets. I would recommend recalibrating the AI's texture mapping algorithms.
Did the computer just give us tech support?
Seems so. Welcome to the future, Tom. Even the AI is trying to fix your messes.
If it can make Tom's landing smoother, I'll believe anything.
They're perfectly experimental. Anyway, to help us understand this brave new world of digital pilots and sentient clouds, we've found something rather interesting.
Yes, apparently our very own chaotic existence has become the subject of an AI-generated podcast, courtesy of Notebook LM. It's a deep dive into our channel, written and compiled by a digital brain that clearly has a strange sense of humour.
Does it mention my biscuit collection?
Analyzing past video data. Biscuit consumption patterns are noted in 78% of episodes, with a significant correlation to Mav's presence.
It's an AI breakdown of our unique approach to aviation entertainment. Let's just say it's insightful.
Insightful? Or a scathing indictment of our collective sanity?
Analyzing historical data. Probability of negative feedback from human subjects regarding perceived sanity levels, 87.3%.
A bit of both, I suspect. So grab your headsets, try to ignore the glitching broccoli yeti, and let's see what the digital overlords have to say about us. Let's tune in.
Initiating audio feed. Please note, any discrepancies between AI-generated content and perceived reality are within acceptable parameters of algorithmic interpretation.
Oh no, they're going to make us sound like a bunch of stupid amateurs.
Speak for yourself, dear.
Anyway, I'll tune in the radio and run some flying V-roll footage.
And it's not like anyone's here for the flying anyway.
Bloody good job too.
I mean, who leaves a tuba unattended at a petting zoo?
And then Ziggy said, "But I thought they were decorative pineapples."
Welcome to our viewer, and today Tess and Al are taking a deep dive into the chaotic minds behind the Flights of Fancy videos, where they will dissect our unique approach to aviation entertainment. So let's welcome Tess and Al.
All right, so we're diving into all old scripts 1.
Okay.
And it's not your typical deep dive, right? It's like we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at this flight simulation video series, maybe for YouTube.
Yeah.
And it is packed with personality.
Oh, yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. It's like we're uncovering the blueprints to their creative process.
Yeah. And before we even get into the storylines, we have to talk about these characters.
Absolutely.
You've got Mick, Mav, Saul, Oz. It's a whole crew.
It is.
It's like they're aiming for a sitcom set in a cockpit.
What's interesting is how much their personalities come out just from the dialogue, right? You got Mike, for example, prone to some hilarious malapropisms.
Oh, yeah.
In one line, he says, bad pronunciationing.
Oh, classic.
Classic.
And then you have Mav, who seems to just ask these simple, almost naive questions.
Right.
But there's a method to his madness, right?
Absolutely. Mav's questions often reveal a much deeper point.
Okay.
It's like they're subtly challenging assumptions or poking fun at how serious the flight sim world can be. Think of it as a gentle nudge to not take ourselves too seriously, even when we're dealing with these complex topics.
You know, that's a great point. Sometimes a little humor can help make even the densest subject matter more digestible.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of humor,
Right.
these scripts are packed with it.
They are.
Wordplay, slapstick, they really go for it.
It's like they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
Right.
And a lot of it does. Take, for example, this running gag. Is it true?
Oh, yeah.
No matter the topic, the answer is always completely unrelated.
Yeah.
It's absurd, but it works.
That kind of reminds me of some inside jokes I have with my own friends. You just have to be there.
Right.
But their humor isn't just for laughs. It also lets them tackle potentially serious topics like flight sim elitism.
Right.
In a very disarming way.
Mhm.
They use humor to kind of sneak in some social commentary.
Right. They address those potentially sensitive areas without being preachy or alienating their audience.
Okay.
Instead of a lecture, it's a conversation sprinkled with jokes. That's a technique that could be applied to any field, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot between being informative and entertaining.
Right.
Now, while their humor is definitely a big draw, these scripts are also deeply rooted in the flight simulation world. You'll notice they constantly reference specific aircraft like the Huey, the Mini 500, even a Draco X.
Yeah.
For those not familiar with flight sim, what kind of aircraft is a Draco X?
It's a bit of an outlier, actually.
Okay.
The Draco is a real-world experimental aircraft
Okay.
known for its unique design. It's essentially a flying wing with a jet engine strapped to it.
Wow.
Not your typical flight simulator fare, which makes their choice to include it even more interesting.
It's like they're deliberately trying to break the mold of what a flight sim video series should be.
Yeah.
And it's not just the aircraft. They even drop in real-world locations like Duxford and Goodwood.
Those are significant locations within the aviation community.
Okay.
Duxford, for example, is home to a renowned aviation museum and hosts some of the largest air shows in the world. By name-dropping these locations, they're signaling to their audience that they're in the know.
Yeah.
That they're part of this world.
It's a subtle way of building credibility and community.
Absolutely.
And speaking of community, you know what really stands out to me is how they give us these little glimpses into their production process.
Right.
We see their editing decisions, their struggles, even their sponsor mentions.
It's like we're getting a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Right? They don't shy away from showing the less glamorous side of content creation.
Yeah.
There's this one scene where they realize they forgot to film the return trip in their helicopter. Their solution, rewind the film.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
While I get the rewind the film bit, it also suggests maybe a touch of chaos in their creative process.
Sure.
Do you think that's intentional, or are they letting the mask slip a bit there?
That's a great question. It could be both.
Yeah.
They're clearly comfortable with self-deprecation, but there's also cleverness there.
Right.
A deliberate choice to present themselves as relatable and human.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, and that's okay. It reminds us that even the most polished content often starts out rough around the edges.
Right.
But amidst all the fun and games, there's this undercurrent of tension with the fun police.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
It's this recurring theme, almost like a shadowy antagonist lurking in the background.
Okay.
The fun police seem to represent those who criticize their humorous approach. Those who think they're not taking flight simulation seriously enough.
Which is interesting because it raises a larger question about the role of humor and self-expression, especially in a community that's often perceived as, well, let's be honest, a bit serious.
Right.
You mentioned earlier that humor can be a powerful tool.
Yes.
And this seems to be a case where they're using it to push back against those expectations.
Exactly. It's like they're saying we can be passionate about flight simulation and still have fun with it.
Right.
We can be knowledgeable and still embrace absurdity. It's a message that resonates far beyond the flight sim world. We all face those moments where we feel pressure to conform, to fit in, to take ourselves too seriously.
That's so true. Sometimes we all need a reminder to loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
It's a message that resonates with me, especially when dealing with my own creative work.
Sure.
And you know what? They don't back down. They actually mention being removed from a forum for an April Fool's sketch, and they use it as a commentary on censorship and humor.
Right.
What do you make of that?
It's a bold move.
Yeah.
They're not just brushing it off, they're turning it into a statement.
Right.
It's like they're saying, we're not afraid to be ourselves, even if it means ruffling a few feathers.
Yeah.
They're standing up for their right to express themselves, and they're doing it through humor.
That takes guts, and it's inspiring.
It is.
And then there's this whole subplot involving a character named Jimmy, who's apparently been arrested by the fun police.
Right.
Wait, hold on. Arrested by the fun police. This is getting good.
It is.
Do we know what Jimmy did? Is there some sort of deeper meaning here, or are they just having fun with us?
That's the million-dollar question.
Okay.
We're going to have to dig deeper into these scripts to see if we can uncover the truth about Jimmy and the fun police.
All right, consider me officially intrigued. This is shaping up to be a wild ride. But before we dive into the next chapter, I want to ask you what's standing out to you so far about these scripts. What's piqued your curiosity?
Well, what really strikes me is this blend of reality and fiction that they've created.
Yeah.
You know, they're clearly passionate about flight simulation.
Yeah.
But they're not afraid to poke fun at it and maybe even at themselves.
You're right. It's like they're saying, hey, we take this seriously, but let's not forget to have fun with it.
Exactly.
It's refreshing and it makes you want to keep listening. And they're not just referencing flight sim details.
Yeah.
They're pulling in all sorts of pop culture references too.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Did you catch that part where they mentioned trying to create a classic film noir look?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a few lines later, they're quoting Airplane. It's like they're channeling a whole history of entertainment through this flight sim lens.
It's like they're creating this inside joke with their audience, assuming they'll get the references.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you feel like you're part of something, like you're in on the joke too. But let's get back to this Jimmy mystery. Where does it all begin?
Well, he's first mentioned in their Christmas special of all places.
Oh, wow.
Santa himself enlists the crew to help retrieve a spare sleigh after the fun police sabotage the original.
Now, that sounds like a story I want to hear.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is how they weave in those real-world details, even within this absurd premise.
Right.
They even mention specific YouTube links in the script, almost like they're leaving breadcrumbs for the viewers.
It's like they're blurring the lines between reality and fiction.
Yeah.
Inviting their audience to participate in the story.
You know, I've seen other creators use this technique, dropping clues and Easter eggs to engage their fans. It creates this sense of community and mystery.
Exactly. It encourages their audience to think beyond the surface, to delve deeper into their world.
Right.
And they even dedicate the Christmas special to someone named Doug, further adding to the intrigue.
Oh, that's interesting. Do we know who Doug is? Is he a fellow flight sim enthusiast? A friend? A sponsor, maybe?
They don't say.
Okay.
Which adds another layer to the mystery. It's like they're leaving it up to our imaginations to fill in the blanks.
Okay, so back to Jimmy. Where does his story pick up after the Christmas special?
He resurfaces later on, seemingly caught in the crosshairs of the fun police. They mention infiltrating underground tunnels, connecting the railroad to Rochester Airport, trying to stay one step ahead.
Wait, Rochester Airport, isn't that an actual airport?
It is, but it's also a popular add-on for flight simulators.
Okay.
Created by a developer called Burning Blue Designs. They're known for their highly detailed and realistic scenery. So it's interesting that they chose to reference that particular airport in this absurd storyline.
So they're grounding this fantastical narrative in a very specific real-world detail. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
They're constantly playing with this tension between the real and the imagined.
Exactly. They're constantly challenging our expectations, blurring the lines between what's real and what's not.
Okay, I need to know more about this Rochester Airport.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it so special in the flight sim world?
Well, for one, it's incredibly detailed, almost photorealistic. Burning Blue Designs goes to great lengths to accurately recreate the airport's layout buildings, even the surrounding landscape.
Yeah.
It's considered one of the most immersive and realistic airport add-ons available.
So for flight sim enthusiasts, it's a place they can virtually visit and experience with a high level of fidelity.
Exactly. It's like stepping into another world, a world that's both familiar and fantastical.
And they're using this familiar setting, this well-known airport within the flight sim community,
Right.
as the backdrop for this wild chase scene with Jimmy and the fun police. It's brilliant.
It is.
And they don't stop there. They sprinkle in even more clues along the way, like mentions of specific forum posts and even a Pimax Crystal headset. Now, for those not in the know, what's special about a Pimax Crystal headset?
It's a high-end virtual reality headset known for its wide field of view and high resolution. It's considered one of the best VR headsets for flight simulation because it allows you to see more of the cockpit and the surrounding environment.
Ah, so they're dropping in these little technical details, almost like they're winking at their audience, the hardcore flight sim fans who will recognize these things and appreciate the nods.
Precisely. It's a way of saying, we see you,
Yeah.
we know what you're into, and we're speaking your language.
It's like an inside joke for the flight sim community. This is getting really good. Okay, so Jimmy is on the run from the fun police. What happens next?
Well, they mentioned the fun police rounding up comedians from a comedy club, which adds another layer to this idea of censorship and freedom of expression.
Wait, hold on. They're arresting comedians now. It's like they're escalating the conflict, taking this idea of fun being policed to a whole new level. It makes you wonder, are they suggesting that laughter itself is somehow dangerous or subversive?
It's certainly a thought-provoking idea. They're not just telling jokes, they're making a statement about the power of humor and the importance of not letting it be silenced.
You know, that reminds me of the whole debate around satire and comedy these days. What one person finds funny, another might find offensive. It's a delicate balance.
Absolutely. And they seem to be navigating this terrain with a mix of humor and defiance. They're not afraid to push buttons, but they're doing it in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
It's like they're walking this tightrope between being funny and making a point.
Yeah.
And they're doing it with a lot of self-awareness.
Exactly. It's not just about the laughs. It's about using humor to spark a conversation, to challenge assumptions, and to make us think about the world around us in a new way.
And they're inviting their audience to be a part of that conversation, which is really cool. So we've got this overarching theme of the fun police cracking down on humor and this ongoing mystery surrounding Jimmy's disappearance. But they're also throwing in all sorts of other random details, like that whole thing about someone needing to lose a couple of pounds before being sent on a mission.
That's a recurring theme throughout the scripts, actually. It seems like they're using it to poke fun at body image standards, especially in a hobby that's often dominated by, let's say, a certain body type.
That's interesting. It's like they're using humor to address these potentially sensitive topics in a way that's disarming and relatable.
Right. They're not afraid to be self-deprecating, and they're not afraid to challenge stereotypes.
And speaking of stereotypes, we have to talk about their sponsors. They constantly mention animal attire adventures at the Feed the Pony petting zoo. Wait, what?
It's absurd, right?
Yeah.
But it's also hilarious. They're poking fun at traditional sponsorships, and they're creating this surreal world where ponies wear clothes and flight simulators are apparently the main attraction.
Okay, that's amazing. And it's not just ponies. They mention chickens, ostriches, even a unicorn named Spike.
And remember those buffalo we talked about earlier? They make another appearance. It's like they're building their own menagerie of animal cameos, and I'm here for it.
This is where my brain starts to melt a little. It's like they're creating a parallel universe where anything is possible, but they ground it with these real-world flight sim references and this underlying commentary on censorship and freedom of expression.
It's a brilliant strategy. They're keeping us engaged, entertained, and constantly guessing what they'll throw at us next.
Now, speaking of throwing things, I love this scene where they talk about shooting a video in the back of a Chinook complete with a gunfight against holograms.
Right, stormtroopers, Wild West gunfights. They even mention a flying saucer. It's pure cinematic chaos, and you can just picture it in your head.
It's like they're taking all these different genres and mashing them together into this crazy flight sim spectacle. They even talk about using old photos of themselves and models as part of their special effects.
It's low-tech, but effective. And it reinforces this idea that they're not taking themselves too seriously. They're embracing the DIY spirit, and they're not afraid to let their creativity run wild, even if it means using cardboard cutouts and duct tape.
It's a reminder that you don't need a Hollywood budget to create something entertaining and engaging. Sometimes the most creative solutions are the simplest ones.
And they're not afraid to acknowledge the limitations of their approach. They even joke about rewinding the film when they realize they forgot to shoot a scene.
I love that. It's that self-awareness that makes them so relatable. It's like they're saying, hey, we're just a group of friends having fun with flight simulation, and we're not afraid to laugh at ourselves along the way.
It's a refreshing change of pace from the perfectly curated content we often see online. They're being authentic, and it resonates with their audience.
It's like they're inviting us into their world, warts and all. And speaking of authenticity, they're not afraid to poke fun at the flight sim world itself. They mention glitches, updates that break things, even the frustration of reassigning peripherals after a reinstall.
It's a reminder that even in this world of high-tech simulation, things don't always go as planned. There's still room for human error, for glitches, for those moments of frustration that make you want to throw your keyboard out the window.
Oh, tell me about it. We've all been there. But it's that shared experience, that acknowledgement of the less glamorous side of flight sim that makes them so relatable to their audience. They're not putting on a facade, they're being real.
And their audience loves them for it. They mention interacting with their viewers regularly, taking suggestions, even giving shout-outs. It's a true community effort.
It's that sense of community, that feeling of being part of something bigger that makes their content so special. They really seem to embrace experimentation. They talk about adding subtitles with their own commentary recording in VR using a Quest 3 headset, even incorporating AI.
They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, both technically and creatively. And they're not afraid to share their failures along the way. There's this one scene where they try to sync their dialogue with song lyrics, and it's a complete disaster.
But that's part of the fun, right? It's that willingness to experiment, to try new things, even if they fail miserably. It's that spirit of playfulness that makes their content so engaging.
And it inspires their audience to do the same. They're not just entertaining, they're encouraging their viewers to be creative, to experiment, to push their own boundaries.
Now, before we move on, there's one more detail I have to bring up. They mentioned the possibility of a spin-off show, a late-night adult version, as they put it.
Now, that's interesting. I'm picturing a flight simulator version of a late-night talk show, complete with a live studio audience, celebrity guests, and maybe even a house band.
I would watch that. It would be the perfect blend of their signature humor, their love of flight simulation, and their willingness to push the envelope.
We'll have to wait and see if that ever comes to fruition.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, they're not afraid to dream big.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored their unique blend of humor, their love of flight simulation, their willingness to experiment, and this ongoing mystery surrounding Jimmy and the Fun Police. But before we get to the grand finale of this all Old Scripts 1 deep dive, I want to ask you again, what's resonating with you the most? What are your biggest takeaways so far?
I think what's really impressive is their dedication to their craft. They're clearly putting a lot of thought and effort into these scripts.
Yeah.
Even if the end result is intentionally, over the top and absurd.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they're approaching this ridiculous premise with such sincerity, which ironically makes it even funnier.
Absolutely.
And they're constantly pushing themselves creatively. They even mention experimenting with different music styles, sound effects, even trying to sync dialogue with song lyrics.
There's this one scene where they try to recreate a conversation from the Doctor Who series.
Oh.
Complete with voice impersonations.
Mm.
It's ambitious, to say the least.
That's amazing. They're not just flight sim enthusiasts. They're fans of all sorts of things. And they're bringing all these different influences into their work, which speaks to their overall creativity and passion.
Absolutely.
But they're also not afraid to show their vulnerabilities. They even joke about their own shortcomings, like forgetting to update the script or accidentally deleting half the footage.
It's endearing.
Yeah.
It makes them feel like real people, not just some polished online personas.
Right.
They're not afraid to be fallible, which makes them even more relatable to their audience.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not perfect, and that's okay.
Right.
And it reinforces this idea of community that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
They constantly mention their viewers, their chaps on Discord, their sponsors. It's like they're all in on the joke together.
It's a reminder that humor can be a powerful tool for bringing people together, even in the sometimes isolated world of flight simulation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like they've built this whole world around their shared love of flight sim, but it's also a world that welcomes everyone, regardless of their skill level or experience.
Right. It's a world where everyone can feel like they belong, where they can be themselves, and where they can have a good laugh along the way.
Okay, we're nearing the end of our deep dive into all Old Scripts 1.
Right.
But there's still one loose end we need to tie up.
Okay.
What happens to Jimmy?
Right.
We left him on the run from the Fun Police.
Well, the trail goes a bit cold after they find evidence of a cover-up at a power station.
Okay.
They mention incriminating evidence being cleared out, and a character even remarks, I bet your ears have been burning.
Intriguing. It's like they're hinting at a larger conspiracy, but they never explicitly reveal what happened to Jimmy.
It's frustrating, but also brilliant.
Yeah.
It leaves you wanting more and keeps the mystery alive.
Sometimes the most satisfying stories are the ones that leave us with unanswered questions.
Sure.
It gives us something to ponder, to theorize about.
Exactly. It's like they're inviting us to continue the story in our own imaginations.
So what do you think happened to Jimmy? Did he escape? Was he captured by the Fun Police? Did he join the circus? The possibilities are endless.
Who knows, maybe he'll reappear in a future set of scripts. All old scripts, too, perhaps.
I'd love to see that. But regardless of what happened to Jimmy, these scripts are a testament to the power of creativity, humor, and community.
They remind us that even the most absurd ideas can be entertaining and thought-provoking.
And they show us that it's okay to not take ourselves too seriously, especially in a world that can often feel overwhelming.
Absolutely. They're a reminder to embrace our passions, to connect with others who share those passions, and to never be afraid to have a little fun along the way.
Well said. So there you have it, folks, a deep dive into all Old Scripts 1. a collection of scripts that give us a glimpse into a quirky creative process, the power of humor, and maybe even a conspiracy or two.
But the story doesn't end here. What do you think these scripts are really about? Is there a larger narrative at play?
Yeah.
And what would happen if the fun police ever caught up with Jimmy?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your interpretations, your theories, your favorite jokes, anything goes. Because in the world of all Old Scripts 1, there are no wrong answers, only more questions to explore.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll uncover the true mystery of Jimmy. But until then, keep flying, keep laughing, and keep those creative juices flowing.
And if you ever encounter the fun police, tell them we said hello. Just kidding, maybe. Until next time, happy flying.
Well, that was illuminating. I think I need a lie down and possibly a therapist.
You and me both, Tom. Though I suspect even a therapist would struggle with this lot.
Analyzing human emotional state, suggesting relaxation techniques and stress reduction exercises. Probability of successful implementation, 42.7%.
Can we have biscuits during the relaxation?
Just end the video, please.
Right. So, folks, you've just witnessed the AI-generated breakdown of our unique channel. Now, we're curious. Would you like more of this digital madness?
Would you like more AI interaction, more AI written scripts, more podcasts that explain us?
Gemini AI, analyzing viewer engagement patterns, suggesting interactive content formats to maximize user retention.
Yet what Gemini said. Would you like a series like The Life of Tom Ploy, written entirely by AI, or maybe podcasts that dissect each video's chaotic brilliance? Let us know in the comments.
As long as the AI doesn't write my lines.
I wouldn't be so sure, Dave.
Oops, too late.
So, if you enjoyed this experience, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't, well, share it with someone you don't like.
Gemini AI, analyzing humor effectiveness. Probability of successful comedic delivery, 68.9%.
And don't forget to leave a comment. We're genuinely curious to know what you think, or at least what the AI thinks you think.
Thanks for watching. And remember, in the world of AI, anything is possible. Even pixelated Yeti riding sentient broccoli. Okay, back to us now. And yes, the previous script was in fact written using AI.
Even the conversation between us.
Indeed.
Normal.
Whatever that is.
Normal. Service will be back in the next video.
Or will it?
This has been an AI tongue-in-cheek production.